Hey guys, tonight we are diving into a topic that might just redefine your understanding of ancient communication. Why Tang Dynasty mail was faster than you would think. Imagine for a moment that you are a courier in the heart of the Tang Dynasty. The air is thick with the scent of dust and distant incense. Your feet are already aching. Even though the sun has barely begun its ascent, you carry a crucial message, perhaps an imperial decree or a military order, and the fate of an entire province could hinge on your speed. You look down at your worn sandals, then up at the seemingly endless road stretching before you, disappearing into the hazy horizon. You know the journey will be arduous. There are mountains to cross, rivers to ford, and probably a few bandits lurking in the shadows, just waiting to make your day even worse. Your stomach rumbles, reminding you that your last meal was hours ago, and who knows when the next one will come. You squint, trying to see the next relay station, a tiny dot on a vast, unforgiving landscape. You are not just delivering a letter, you are a human telegraph, a vital link in a colossal communication network. You are the internet of your era, only much, much slower, and with a significantly higher chance of being eaten by a tiger. You probably won't survive this journey in one piece. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, let me know in the comments where you are listening from, and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are standing on a dusty road, the sun a harsh glare in the sky. Your breath hitches with each step. The Tang Dynasty, stretching from 618 to 907 CE, was a period of unprecedented expansion and cultural flourishing in Chinese history. It was a vast empire, and like any sprawling entity, it needed an incredibly efficient way to communicate across its immense distances. Forget about pigeons or smoke signals for a moment. The Tang Imperial post system was a meticulously organized machine, far more sophisticated than many give it credit for. It was a network of relay stations, courier routes, and a dedicated corps of postal workers who, in essence, were the FedEx of their time, albeit with a lot more manual labor and fewer fancy tracking numbers. Think about the sheer scale of the empire. From the bustling capital of Chang'an, a city of over 1 million people, radiating outwards to the distant frontiers of Central Asia, messages had to travel thousands of miles. This was not a casual stroll through the park. This was a logistical marvel, a testament to the administrative genius of the Tang emperors. The imperial post was not just for official documents either. It was also used to transport tribute, local products, and even fresh food for the imperial court. Imagine a delivery of likeys from the south, racing north to satisfy the emperor's craving. A quirky tidbit about this is that the famous concubine Yang Gaifei was said to have a particular fondness for fresh likeys, and the postal system was supposedly stretched to its limits to deliver them to her quickly, showcasing a somewhat frivolous yet undeniably demanding use of this robust network. This wasn't just about sending a memo. It was about connecting a continent. The speed of this system was truly impressive for its era. While we might scoff at a horse and rider today, in a world without combustion engines or telegraphs, it was the pinnacle of rapid transit. They operated on a relay system, much like a modern marathon team passing a baton. A courier would gallop as fast as possible to the next station, where a fresh horse and rider would be waiting, ready to take over without losing a moment. This continuous flow minimized downtime and maximized speed. Historians still argue whether the primary motivation for such speed was military necessity or the desire for effective administrative control over distant territories. It is a chicken and egg scenario. Did the need for rapid military intelligence drive the system's development, or did the system's existence allow for more effective military campaigns and centralized governance? Regardless, the outcome was a network that could move information at speeds that would astound someone from, say, medieval Europe. You probably would not even know what a relay station was in medieval Europe. You would be too busy trying to figure out if that lump of bread was actually bread. The infrastructure itself was extensive. The Tang Dynasty established thousands of postal stations across its vast territory. These stations were strategically placed, typically every 10 to 15 miles, which was roughly a half-day's ride for a swift horse. Each station was equipped with fresh horses, provisions, and a corps of dedicated postal workers, including grooms, stable hands, and of course, the couriers themselves. These stations were not just stables, they were small logistical hubs, often fortified, and sometimes even offering rudimentary lodging for tired travelers who happened to be on official business. They were the roadside inns of their time, but with a specific, fast-paced purpose. The upkeep of such a sprawling network would have required an immense amount of resources and coordination, highlighting the Tang government's commitment to maintaining its reach. It was an enormous logistical undertaking, a constant balancing act of supply and demand, ensuring that horses were healthy, couriers were ready, and provisions were stocked. Imagine managing that spreadsheet without the spreadsheet. Your head would probably explode. You are galloping now, the wind whipping past your ears, the rhythmic thud of hooves against the earth a steady drumbeat. The relay system was the true secret source of Tang Dynasty mail speed. It was not about one person riding the entire distance. That would be like trying to run a marathon while carrying a small pony on your back. Admirable, perhaps, but ultimately inefficient and probably quite smelly. Instead, it was a perfectly orchestrated ballet of human and animal endurance. At each station, a courier would arrive, often riding a lathered, exhausted horse. Without even dismounting fully, the message pouch would be transferred to a fresh courier on a fresh horse, already champing at the bit, ready to bolt. This seamless transition meant that momentum was rarely lost. It was like a well-oiled machine, each cog working in perfect synchronization to keep the information flowing at top speed. The concept itself was brilliant in its simplicity, yet incredibly complex in its execution across such a vast empire. The couriers themselves were a special breed. They were not just random villagers pressed into service. They were often highly trained individuals, chosen for their physical stamina, riding skills, and reliability. Their lives were challenging, filled with long hours in the saddle, exposure to the elements, and the constant threat of danger. Imagine having to deliver a message through a blizzard or a sweltering desert, knowing that failure could mean severe punishment or even death. They were the unsung heroes of the Tang communication network, literally carrying the empire on their backs. A quirky tidbit about these couriers is that they sometimes carried a special type of bell, which they would ring loudly as they approached a station. This served two purposes: to announce their arrival and to warn anyone in the way to clear the path, ensuring a quick handover. It was the ancient equivalent of a siren, a clear signal that important business was underway and not to be trifled with. The speed of official dispatches was regulated by a strict set of rules. For urgent military messages, couriers could cover an astonishing 150 to 180 miles in a single day. This was achieved by riding at a full gallop for extended periods, pushing both horse and rider to their absolute limits. Think about that for a second. If you were to drive 180 miles in your car today, it would take you a few hours. In the Tang Dynasty, on horseback, through varied terrain, it was a Herculean feat. For less urgent imperial decrees, the speed might be a more leisurely 60 to 70 miles a day, still remarkably fast for the era. Even the slowest official mail, carrying routine administrative documents, would still average 30 to 40 miles daily. Historians still argue whether these reported speeds were consistently achievable, or if they represent the ideal maximums under perfect conditions. It is easy to imagine a particularly motivated courier or a perfectly smooth road leading to a record-breaking sprint. But what about the average day-to-day reality across the entire empire? The types of messages carried by the postal system were diverse. Imperial decrees were paramount, transmitting the emperor's will and policies throughout the vast bureaucracy. Military dispatches were equally critical, providing commanders with vital intelligence and orders, allowing for rapid responses to border skirmishes or rebellions. Beyond these official documents, the system also facilitated the movement of tribute from distant provinces to the capital. This could include rare silks, exotic spices, or even live animals, all transported with a surprising degree of urgency to reach the imperial court in fresh condition. The postal system was not just about words. It was about the tangible goods that symbolized the empire's wealth and reach. It was a conveyor belt of power and luxury. The security of the mail was also a serious concern. Imperial dispatches were sealed with wax and often carried in special, locked pouches to prevent tampering or interception. Couriers were well aware of the gravity of their mission. Losing a message or allowing it to fall into the wrong hands could have dire consequences, ranging from severe punishment to treason charges. This added another layer of pressure to an already demanding job. Imagine the paranoia if you were carrying a document that could literally start or end a war. You would probably sleep with it under your pillow, if you slept at all. The entire system was built on a foundation of trust and accountability, with strict penalties for dereliction of duty. It was a well-regulated system, designed to ensure that the flow of information was both swift and secure. The network's efficiency was also boosted by the meticulous record-keeping maintained at each station. When a message arrived, its time of arrival was noted, and when it departed with the next courier, that time was recorded as well. This provided a detailed audit trail, allowing the central government to track the progress of important dispatches and identify any bottlenecks or delays. This was an early form of supply chain management applied to information. It allowed for accountability and performance monitoring, a remarkably modern concept for its time. It ensured that everyone in the chain was doing their part to maintain the system's overall speed and reliability. This was not a system based on hope and good intentions. It was based on data, even if that data was recorded by hand on bamboo slips. You are now navigating a winding mountain pass, the air thin and cold. The sound of hooves echoes off the rocky cliffs. The sheer scale of the Tang postal network is difficult to fully grasp. At its peak, there were an estimated 639 land postal stations and 260 water postal stations. These stations were strategically placed along main roads and rivers, forming a vast web that crisscrossed the entire empire. This was not a small operation. It was a nationwide logistical undertaking, a constant hum of activity that kept the arteries of the empire flowing. Think of it as a massive, ancient highway system, but instead of cars, you have horses. And instead of rest stops with questionable coffee, you have meticulously maintained relay stations. It was a monumental achievement in infrastructure development, arguably one of the most impressive of its time. The types of stations varied depending on their location and purpose. Some were large, well-provisioned hubs, capable of housing many horses and numerous couriers. Others might have been smaller, more remote outposts serving a less frequented route. Regardless of size, each played a vital role in maintaining the continuous flow of communication. The water postal stations, for instance, were equally important, particularly in the southern parts of the empire where rivers and canals formed the primary arteries of transportation. Here, instead of horses, boats were used, often rowed by dedicated crews, navigating the waterways with the same urgency as their land-based counterparts. A quirky tidbit is that some of these water stations also had small, makeshift piers and facilities for drying important documents that might have gotten wet during transit, showcasing a practical understanding of the challenges of water-based communication. The maintenance of this vast network required an immense amount of resources. Horses needed to be fed, stabled, and replaced when they became too old or injured. Couriers needed to be paid, provisioned, and housed. The stations themselves required constant upkeep, repairs, and security. This was a significant drain on the imperial treasury, but one that was deemed absolutely essential for the effective governance and defense of the empire. Historians still argue whether the cost of maintaining such an elaborate system was a sustainable burden on the Tang economy in the long term, particularly during periods of political instability or decline. Was it an investment that always paid dividends, or did it become a drain when the empire faced other pressures? Regardless of the long-term economic impact, in its prime, the system was a testament to the Tang government's willingness to invest heavily in its core functions. The people who staffed these stations were often part of a dedicated civil service. They were not just random citizens. They were employees of the state, fulfilling a crucial role in the imperial administration. Their dedication and efficiency were vital to the system's success. Imagine the sheer number of people involved in keeping this whole operation running: the stable masters, the cooks, the guards, the record keepers, and, of course, the couriers themselves. It was a massive employment scheme, a bureaucratic marvel that provided livelihoods for countless individuals while simultaneously serving the empire's communication needs. It was a testament to the Tang government's ability to organize and mobilize human resources on a grand scale. The design of the routes themselves was also carefully considered. Main roads were often wide and well-maintained, allowing for faster travel. Bridges were built over rivers, and passes through mountains were engineered to be as traversable as possible. The topography of China presented significant challenges, from vast plains to towering mountain ranges and sprawling river systems. Overcoming these geographical obstacles required considerable engineering prowess and continuous effort. This was not just about slapping some dirt paths together. It was about creating a functional transportation infrastructure across a diverse landscape. It was a triumph of ancient civil engineering, ensuring that even in the most challenging terrain, the flow of information could be maintained. The impact of this postal system extended far beyond simply delivering messages. It facilitated cultural exchange, allowing ideas, technologies, and artistic styles to spread rapidly across the empire. It helped to unify the diverse regions of China under a common administrative framework. It also played a crucial role in trade, allowing merchants to send messages about market conditions and to coordinate the movement of goods. In essence, it was a backbone for the entire imperial system, supporting not just governance and military operations, but also economic activity and cultural cohesion. It was the neural network of the empire, transmitting signals that kept the entire body functioning. Without it, the vast Tang Dynasty would have been a collection of isolated regions, struggling to communicate and coordinate. It was the glue that held it all together, a silent, tireless force shaping the destiny of an entire civilization. The empire's prosperity and stability were intrinsically linked to the speed and reliability of its communication channels. You are now riding through a dense forest, the dappled sunlight playing on the path ahead. The air is humid and smells of damp earth and growing things. The meticulous nature of Tang administration extended to even the smallest details of the postal system. Every single document, from a royal edict to a minor request, was assigned a specific urgency level. This was not a free-for-all where everyone could demand lightning-fast delivery for their laundry list. There were strict protocols in place to prioritize messages. Think of it like modern email. You have your urgent messages, your important ones, and then your newsletters and promotions. In the Tang Dynasty, these urgency levels dictated everything, from the speed of the courier to the number of horses used at each relay. This ensured that critical information always received the fastest possible transit, while less time-sensitive materials could be handled more economically. The highest urgency level, known as urgent, typically involved imperial edicts, military reports, and urgent intelligence. For these, couriers would ride at full gallop, pushing themselves and their horses to their absolute limits. They would have priority at all stations, with fresh mounts ready and waiting. Imagine the stress of carrying such a message. Your life, and perhaps the lives of thousands, could depend on your speed. A quirky tidbit about this is that some truly urgent messages were even carried by foot couriers who would run relays for incredibly long distances, proving that sometimes the human body could be faster than a tired horse on certain terrains or in extremely adverse conditions. It was a testament to the incredible human endurance and dedication to duty. Then there were messages of ordinary urgency, which would travel at a still respectable pace, but without the extreme demands of the urgent category. These might include routine administrative reports, official correspondence between government departments, or tax collection notices. Finally, there were slow messages, which were often for non-critical information or bulk deliveries, where speed was less of a concern. These might travel at a more leisurely pace, perhaps even carried by slower moving carts or boats, conserving resources. Historians still argue whether the categorization of urgency was always strictly adhered to in practice, especially in remote areas or during times of internal strife. Was there always a clear distinction, or did local officials sometimes bend the rules to suit their immediate needs? The system for tracking these various urgency levels was surprisingly sophisticated. Each document would have a specific seal or mark indicating its priority. This allowed postal workers at each station to immediately identify how the message should be handled. It was a visual cue, a quick reference that streamlined the process and reduced the chance of errors. This level of organization speaks volumes about the administrative capacity of the Tang Dynasty. They were not just improvising. They had a system, a blueprint for efficient communication. It was a well-thought-out protocol, ensuring that every message was treated with the appropriate level of attention and speed. The couriers themselves were highly motivated, not just by duty, but also by the potential rewards and punishments. Successful delivery of urgent messages could lead to recognition and promotion, while failure could result in severe penalties, including flogging, demotion, or even execution in extreme cases. This carrot and stick approach ensured that couriers understood the gravity of their responsibilities and were incentivized to perform at their best. Imagine the pressure of knowing your very life could depend on how fast you ride. You would probably have a perpetual tension headache. This system of incentives and deterrence was a fundamental aspect of maintaining the high-performance standards of the postal service. Beyond the official messages, the postal network also had an indirect impact on civilian life. While private citizens could not simply send personal letters through the Imperial post, the existence of such a robust network facilitated the growth of private courier services. These unofficial couriers would often use the same routes and benefit from the general infrastructure maintained by the state, albeit at a slower pace and with less priority. It was a symbiotic relationship, where the state-sponsored system inadvertently fostered a parallel private industry. It meant that even for those not directly involved in government, the concept of rapid communication was becoming more commonplace, albeit at a cost. The legacy of the Tang postal system was profound. It laid the groundwork for future communication networks in China and influenced postal systems in neighboring countries. It demonstrated the power of centralized administration and systematic organization in overcoming geographical barriers. It also served as a constant reminder of the state's omnipresence, its ability to reach even the most distant corners of its vast domain. This was not just a utilitarian service. It was a symbol of imperial power and control, a visible manifestation of the emperor's reach. It was a silent, tireless force shaping the destiny of an entire civilization, ensuring that the wheels of government kept turning, no matter how far-flung the territory. It was truly a marvel of ancient logistics, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. You are now riding through a bustling market town, the sounds of merchants hawking their wares, and the smells of street food filling the air. Even within the seemingly efficient structure of the Tang postal system, there were inherent challenges that tested its limits. Maintaining thousands of stations across an empire spanning millions of square miles was no small feat. Think about the sheer logistical headache of ensuring a consistent supply of healthy horses. Horses, unlike your trusty car, require constant care, feed, and veterinary attention. They also have a finite working life. Imagine trying to manage a nationwide horse breeding and training program without spreadsheets, without GPS, and with only limited communication tools. It was a continuous battle against attrition, disease, and the inevitable wear and tear of constant use. This was not a simple task. It was a complex dance of animal husbandry and resource management on an epic scale. Beyond the horses, staffing the stations with reliable and skilled personnel was another persistent challenge. Imagine trying to find dedicated couriers willing to endure long hours, harsh weather, and the constant threat of danger. These were not glamorous jobs. They were demanding, often lonely, and sometimes perilous. Recruiting and retaining good staff would have been a significant concern for postal officials. A quirky tidbit is that in some remote or dangerous areas, local communities were sometimes conscripted to provide labor, or even horses for the postal service, highlighting the top-down nature of imperial demands. This could lead to local resentment, but it also underscored the central government's unwavering commitment to maintaining the system. Geographical obstacles presented a constant test. China's diverse terrain, from the vast deserts of the west to the dense forests of the south, and the towering mountain ranges, meant that routes were rarely straightforward. Maintaining roads and waterways across such varied landscapes was an unending task. Floods could wash away bridges, landslides could block mountain passes, and deserts offered little in the way of natural resources. Each environmental challenge required specific solutions and ongoing maintenance efforts. Historians still argue whether the environmental degradation caused by the extensive network of roads and the clearing of land for stations had a significant long-term impact on the Tang landscape. Was the relentless pursuit of speed a sustainable model for the environment? Then there was the constant threat of banditry. The long, isolated stretches of road were ripe targets for brigands looking to prey on travelers, especially those carrying valuable imperial documents or goods. While postal stations offered some measure of security, and couriers were sometimes accompanied by guards, the risk remained. Imagine being a courier, knowing that around the next bend could be a band of desperate men, eager to relieve you of your precious cargo. This added a layer of personal danger to an already challenging job. The authorities would have invested considerable resources in combating banditry, recognizing that it directly threatened the integrity of the imperial communication network. It was a cat-and-mouse game, played out across the vast expanses of the empire. Corruption was another potential pitfall. With such a vast network and so many people involved, opportunities for illicit activities would inevitably arise. Officials at postal stations might demand bribes for preferential treatment, or couriers might delay messages for personal gain. Maintaining oversight and preventing corruption would have been a continuous struggle for the central government. It is a universal truth that where there is power and resources, there will be attempts to exploit them. Imagine the sheer bureaucratic nightmare of trying to root out corruption across thousands of stations, especially with limited means of remote communication. It was a constant battle against human nature, a reminder that even the most meticulously designed systems are only as good as the people who operate them. Despite these challenges, the Tang postal system remained remarkably effective for centuries. Its longevity and consistent performance speak volumes about the dedication of its personnel and the administrative capabilities of the Tang government. The system was a testament to their adaptability, their ability to overcome obstacles, and their unwavering commitment to maintaining a unified and well-governed empire. It was a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving and adapting to the changing needs and challenges of its time. It was a monument to human organization and perseverance, proving that even without modern technology, with enough will and ingenuity, impressive feats of logistics could be achieved. The challenges were immense, but so too was the resolve to overcome them, ensuring the continued flow of vital information across the empire. You are now traversing a vast, open plain, the horizon stretching endlessly in every direction. The only sounds are the wind and the steady pounding of hooves. The financial demands of the Tang postal system were astronomical. Imagine budgeting for thousands of horses, hundreds of thousands of people, and the continuous construction and maintenance of infrastructure across an entire continent. This was not a small line item in the Imperial budget. It was a major expenditure, year after year. The resources needed to keep this network running were immense, highlighting the Tang government's absolute commitment to its communication arteries. They understood that efficient communication was not a luxury, but a necessity for the survival and prosperity of their vast empire. Think of it as a constant, colossal investment in staying connected, a real-time data stream of governance and military intelligence. The primary source of funding for the postal system came directly from the Imperial treasury, drawn from taxes levied on the population. This meant that the common people, through their labor and agricultural output, were indirectly supporting the rapid movement of imperial decrees and military intelligence. It was a collective effort, a nationwide contribution to a vital state function. However, a quirky tidbit is that local communities were also often expected to contribute labor or supplies to the nearby postal stations, creating a decentralized layer of support that alleviated some of the burden on the central government. This could be anything from providing grain for horses to helping with repairs on station buildings. The management of these funds would have been a complex affair, requiring meticulous accounting and oversight. Imagine the bureaucratic machinery involved in tracking expenditures for thousands of different stations, each with its own needs and challenges. There would have been a dedicated department within the Tang bureaucracy responsible for the postal service, handling everything from procurement of horses to the payment of salaries. Historians still argue whether the financial burden of the postal system contributed to, or exacerbated, any of the later economic downturns experienced by the Tang Dynasty. Was it a constant, heavy drain that strained the imperial coffers, or was its immense value in maintaining order and facilitating trade considered a worthy, self-sustaining investment? Beyond direct monetary costs, there were also the indirect costs. The constant demand for horses put pressure on grazing lands and horse breeding programs. The need for timber for station construction and fuel for fires would have impacted local forests. The movement of countless couriers and animals would have caused wear and tear on roads, requiring continuous repairs. These environmental and resource-related costs were often overlooked but were nonetheless significant. It was a massive undertaking, with a footprint that stretched across the entire empire, impacting everything it touched. The economic impact of the postal system, however, was not solely a drain. It also stimulated local economies along its routes. Postal stations provided employment opportunities for local residents, whether as grooms, cooks, or guards. They created a demand for goods and services, from food and fodder to blacksmithing and lodging. In essence, these stations became small economic hubs, fostering trade and activity in their vicinity. It was a network that, while serving imperial needs, also brought a degree of prosperity to the regions it traversed. Imagine a sleepy village suddenly becoming a bustling mini-hub because a postal station was established there. It was a bit like a modern interstate highway exit, attracting businesses and services. The system also facilitated inter-regional trade by allowing merchants to send advance notices of their arrival or to coordinate large shipments. While not a direct commercial service, its existence made commercial ventures more viable and efficient. Information, even in ancient times, was power, and the ability to transmit it quickly had a tangible economic benefit for those who could leverage it. It reduced uncertainty and allowed for more strategic planning in commerce, something that would have been impossible without a robust communication network. The sustainability of the funding model was crucial for the long-term viability of the postal system. During periods of peace and prosperity, the imperial treasury was likely well equipped to handle the costs. However, during times of war, rebellion, or natural disaster, resources would have been diverted, potentially impacting the efficiency and reach of the postal service. This cyclical nature of funding and its direct impact on the system's performance is a fascinating aspect of its history. It was a dynamic relationship, constantly influenced by the broader political and economic health of the empire. The immense financial commitment required underscores the paramount importance placed on effective communication by the Tang rulers, a commitment that ultimately helped define the era. You are now riding through a barren stretch of land, the sun beating down relentlessly, the air shimmering with heat. The Tang Dynasty's reliance on the postal system for military command and control cannot be overstated. In an empire as vast and prone to border skirmishes and internal rebellions as the Tang, rapid communication was not just an advantage. It was absolutely essential for survival. Imagine a general on a distant frontier facing a sudden enemy incursion. Without swift intelligence and clear orders from the capital, a tactical situation could quickly escalate into a catastrophic defeat. The postal system was the nervous system of the Tang military machine, transmitting vital signals that allowed for coordinated defense and effective offense. It was the original battlefield internet, but with more horse sweat and far less buffering. Military dispatches held the highest priority within the postal system, often designated with a red flag or special seal indicating their extreme urgency. These messages would be rushed through the network, sometimes by couriers riding day and night, changing horses at every station without delay. The speed at which these messages could travel meant that the imperial court in Chang'an could receive news of distant events and issue countermeasures in a remarkably short time frame. This drastically reduced the time lag between incident and response, a crucial factor in military effectiveness. A quirky tidbit is that some military couriers were even equipped with special identification tablets or tallies that granted them immediate passage and resources at any postal station, bypassing any bureaucratic delays. These were like the VIP passes of the ancient world. The ability to quickly send and receive military intelligence allowed the Tang emperors to maintain centralized control over their vast armies, even those stationed thousands of miles away. It meant that strategies could be devised in the capital and disseminated to commanders in the field with unprecedented speed. This greatly enhanced the empire's ability to project power and respond to threats across its extensive borders. Historians still argue whether the speed of military communication was a primary factor in the Tang Dynasty's initial military successes, or if it was merely one of many contributing elements. Was it the decisive edge, or simply a well-oiled cog in a larger, already formidable military machine? Beyond direct command and control, the postal system also played a role in logistics for military campaigns. While not its primary function for transporting bulk supplies, it could be used to send requisitions for provisions, manpower, or specialized equipment to local authorities, ensuring that armies in the field were adequately supplied. This further streamlined military operations, reducing the likelihood of critical shortages. Imagine a general needing a specific type of arrow, and being able to send a message that would reach the nearest armory in a matter of days, rather than weeks. It was a crucial, albeit often overlooked, aspect of military preparedness. The integrity and security of military messages were paramount. Any tampering or interception of military dispatches could have disastrous consequences. Therefore, these messages were heavily sealed and often encrypted or written in code to prevent unauthorized access. Couriers carrying such sensitive information would have been acutely aware of the dangers involved and the severe penalties for any failure in their duty. The fear of being caught with a compromised message would have been a powerful motivator for vigilance. It was a high-stakes game of information transfer, where the lives of thousands could hang in the balance. The swift transmission of military news also had a psychological impact. Knowing that the emperor and the central government were quickly apprised of events, even in distant frontier regions, could bolster morale among soldiers and local populations. It reinforced the sense of a unified empire, where support and reinforcements could be expected to arrive promptly. Conversely, for enemies, the speed of Tang responses might have served as a deterrent, making them think twice before launching an attack. It was a silent, but powerful, projection of imperial strength and responsiveness. The continuous operation of the military postal system, even during periods of internal turmoil or external invasion, underscores its critical importance. It was the lifeline that connected the heart of the empire to its extremities, ensuring that even in the most chaotic times, the flow of vital information could continue. It was the unseen force that enabled the Tang Dynasty to project its power, defend its borders, and maintain internal stability for centuries. The ability to communicate rapidly was an undisputed cornerstone of their military prowess, a testament to the foresight and organizational genius of the Tang leadership. You are now navigating a winding river on a flat-bottomed boat, the rhythmic splash of paddles accompanying your journey. The Tang Dynasty postal system was not solely dependent on land routes. Waterways, especially in the southern and eastern regions of the empire, formed equally vital arteries for communication and transport. China is crisscrossed by an intricate network of rivers, canals, and lakes, and the Tang government was astute enough to leverage these natural and man-made advantages to enhance the speed and efficiency of its postal service. Imagine a vast watery highway system, where instead of galloping horses, you have swift boats propelled by oarsmen, navigating the currents and delivering crucial messages. It was a testament to their comprehensive approach to logistics, recognizing that different terrains demanded different solutions. Water postal stations were established along major rivers like the Yangtze and the Yellow River, as well as along the Grand Canal. These stations, like their land-based counterparts, were equipped with fresh boats, experienced crews, and provisions. The speed of water travel could sometimes rival, or even surpass, that of land travel, especially for bulkier goods or in areas where roads were poor or non-existent. A quirky tidbit is that some of the boats used for urgent dispatches were specifically designed for speed, often long and narrow, and powered by multiple oarsmen, akin to ancient speedboats. They were built for efficiency, cutting through the water with precision. The Grand Canal, a monumental engineering achievement connecting the northern and southern parts of China, played a particularly significant role in the water postal system. It allowed for rapid transit of goods and information between the two major economic and political centers of the empire. Think of it as a superhighway for boats, dramatically reducing travel time and cost compared to overland routes. The canal's existence streamlined the movement of tribute from the rich agricultural south to the imperial capital in the north, as well as the dissemination of imperial decrees to the burgeoning southern provinces. Historians still argue whether the immense investment in the Grand Canal was primarily for economic benefit, or if its strategic importance for communication and military logistics was the overriding factor. Was it built for trade or for control? The challenges of water-based communication were different from those on land, but no less significant. Rivers could flood, changing course or becoming impassable. Currents could be treacherous, and strong winds could make navigation difficult. Maintaining a fleet of boats required constant repairs and skilled shipwrights. Crews needed to be trained in navigation and the specific protocols of the postal service. Despite these challenges, the water postal system operated with remarkable reliability, a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of the Tang people. Imagine trying to navigate a narrow canal at night, relying only on moonlight and the skill of your crew. It was a perilous yet vital undertaking. The integration of land and water routes was key to the overall efficiency of the Tang postal system. Messages could be seamlessly transferred from a horse courier to a boat crew at a strategically located station, optimizing the speed of transit across diverse geographical regions. This multimodal approach allowed the empire to leverage the strengths of each transportation method, creating a truly comprehensive and resilient communication network. It was a masterclass in logistical planning, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of infrastructure and resource allocation. The types of goods transported by water were also more varied. While land routes were primarily for messages and lighter, high-value goods, water routes could accommodate bulkier shipments of tribute, grain, and other commodities. This dual capability made the postal system a versatile tool for both information transfer and material logistics, further enhancing its importance to the empire's functioning. It was a true logistical backbone, supporting both the abstract flow of information and the tangible movement of vital resources. The water postal system also had a profound impact on the lives of people living along the rivers and canals. It brought official presence to remote areas, facilitated trade, and sometimes even provided employment opportunities for local boatmen and laborers. It was a constant reminder of the imperial government's reach, a visible manifestation of its administrative power, extending into every corner of the realm. The constant movement of official boats and couriers served as a living testament to the dynamism and interconnectedness of the Tang Empire, ensuring that even in the most remote watery villages, the imperial presence was felt. It was a silent yet powerful force in shaping the daily lives and broader prosperity of the Tang Dynasty. You are now feeling the rhythmic swaying of a camel as you traverse a vast, sandy desert. The sun beats down with relentless intensity, and the air is thick with dust. Beyond the well-established land and water routes, the Tang Dynasty also employed specialized transportation methods to overcome the unique challenges of its diverse geography. In the vast, arid regions of the West, particularly along the Silk Road, camels were the workhorses of the postal system. Their incredible endurance, ability to carry heavy loads, and adaptation to desert environments made them indispensable for connecting the empire's central plains with its far-flung western territories. Imagine trying to use horses in a landscape where water is scarce and sand dunes stretch to the horizon. It would be a futile and rather thirsty endeavor. Camel postal stations, though fewer in number than horse or boat stations, were strategically located at eisers and other water sources. These stations provided not only fresh camels, but also specialized handlers who understood the unique needs and temperament of these magnificent beasts. The pace of camel travel was generally slower than a galloping horse, but their ability to cover vast distances without frequent stops made them highly efficient for long-haul journeys through harsh terrain. A quirky tidbit is that specific breeds of camels, known for their speed and endurance, were often favored for imperial postal duties, showcasing a selective breeding program aimed at optimizing the efficiency of their desert mail service. They were the original all-terrain vehicles, designed by nature for the toughest conditions. The messages carried by camel train were often destined for distant garrisons, tributary states, or diplomatic missions along the Silk Road. These might include imperial decrees for frontier commanders, reports on foreign relations, or intelligence on nomadic tribes. The importance of these routes extended beyond mere communication. They were vital for maintaining diplomatic ties, controlling trade, and asserting Tang influence in Central Asia. Historians still argue whether the security of the Silk Road postal routes was maintained primarily through the strength of Tang military garrisons or through strategic alliances with local tribes. Was it brute force or clever diplomacy that kept the messages flowing? The challenges of desert travel were immense. Extreme temperatures, both scorching hot during the day and freezing cold at night, posed a constant threat. Sandstorms could disorient travelers and bury routes. The scarcity of water and provisions meant meticulous planning was required for every journey. Despite these formidable obstacles, the camel postal system operated with remarkable consistency, a testament to the resilience of the couriers and their animal companions. Imagine trying to navigate by the stars in a sandstorm, with the weight of an empire's communications on your back. It sounds like a bad day at the office, but with more sand in uncomfortable places. In mountainous regions, particularly the high passes of the Tibetan Plateau, specialized foot couriers or yak-mounted messengers might have been employed. Yaks, with their incredible strength and ability to navigate steep, rocky terrain, would have been invaluable for traversing areas where horses or camels simply could not go. These niche transportation methods highlight the adaptability of the Tang postal system, its willingness to employ whatever means necessary to ensure that messages reached their destination, no matter how remote or challenging the terrain. It was a whatever-it-takes approach to communication, ensuring no corner of the empire was truly disconnected. The integration of these specialized methods with the main land and water networks created a truly comprehensive communication grid. A message might start on a galloping horse, be transferred to a boat, then to a camel, and finally to a foot courier, all while maintaining its urgency and integrity. This multimodal approach maximized the reach and efficiency of the entire system, allowing the Tang Dynasty to extend its administrative and military control over an incredibly diverse and geographically challenging empire. It was a logistical puzzle, solved with remarkable ingenuity and foresight. The existence of these specialized routes also served as a visible symbol of the Tang Dynasty's power and reach. The sight of imperial couriers, whether on horseback, by boat, or atop a camel, would have reminded local populations and foreign emissaries alike of the empire's vast domain and its ability to exert its will across immense distances. It was a constant, moving demonstration of centralized authority, a physical manifestation of the emperor's gaze, extending to the far corners of the realm. This ensured that no matter where you were in the Tang Empire, communication, though sometimes slow, was always possible and always imperial. You are now inside a dimly lit postal station, the air thick with the smell of horse sweat and dust. The sounds of tired horses stamping their feet, and the low murmur of voices fill the space. The administrative structure supporting the Tang Dynasty postal system was a masterpiece of bureaucratic organization. This was not a loose collection of independent stations. It was a highly centralized and meticulously managed network, overseen by dedicated government officials. Think of it as a massive corporation, with a clear hierarchy, strict protocols, and a constant focus on efficiency. The success of the Tang postal system was as much about its organizational genius as it was about the speed of its couriers. At the highest level, the postal system was generally under the purview of the Ministry of War, underscoring its critical importance for military command and control. This ministry would have set overall policies, allocated resources, and overseen the appointment of senior postal officials. Below this, there would have been a dedicated Directorate of Postal Services, or a similar body, responsible for the day-to-day management of the entire network. This directorate would have handled everything from route planning to personnel management, financial oversight, and the procurement of horses and supplies. It was a complex, multi-layered bureaucracy designed to ensure seamless operation across the empire. Local postal stations were managed by station chiefs, who were responsible for the immediate operations of their specific outpost. Their duties included ensuring that fresh horses were always available, couriers were ready to ride, provisions were stocked, and meticulous records were kept. These station chiefs were the linchpins of the system, the frontline managers who ensured that the information flow never stopped. Imagine the pressure of being a station chief, knowing that any delay or error on your part could have serious repercussions for the entire network. A quirky tidbit is that some station chiefs were even required to regularly send reports on the condition of their horses and the efficiency of their operations to their superiors, a very early form of performance review and data collection. The rigorous record keeping at each station was a fundamental aspect of this administrative control. Every message that passed through a station was logged, noting the time of arrival, the time of departure, the courier's name, and the destination. This created a detailed audit trail, allowing central authorities to track the progress of urgent dispatches and identify any points of delay or inefficiency. This accountability system was crucial for maintaining the high standards of speed and reliability that characterized the Tang Postal Service. Historians still argue whether the extensive record-keeping was primarily for efficiency and accountability, or if it also served as a tool for surveillance and control over the movements of people and information. Was it about faster mail, or about knowing who was sending what where? The training of couriers and other postal staff was also a significant part of the administrative effort. Couriers were not just hired off the street. They underwent training in riding, rote knowledge, and the strict protocols for handling imperial messages. This professionalization of the postal service ensured a consistent level of competence and reliability across the empire. Imagine a training academy for ancient mailmen, complete with obstacle courses and lessons on how to avoid bandits. It might not have been quite that formal, but the underlying principle was the same. The constant communication between the central administration and the local stations was also vital. Reports flowed upwards, detailing conditions, challenges, and resource needs, while directives and new policies flowed downwards. This continuous feedback loop allowed the system to adapt and respond to changing circumstances, whether it was a natural disaster affecting a route or a sudden surge in military dispatches. It was a dynamic, responsive system, not a rigid, unthinking bureaucracy. The administrative sophistication of the Tang postal system demonstrates a profound understanding of logistics and organizational principles that were far ahead of their time. It was a recognition that a powerful empire required equally powerful communication channels, and that such channels could only be maintained through meticulous planning, dedicated personnel, and robust oversight. It was a testament to the Tang Dynasty's administrative genius, a silent engine of imperial power that often goes unnoticed amidst the more glamorous aspects of their reign, like poetry and grand architecture. But without this hidden machinery, the empire could never have functioned with such speed and efficiency. You are now making your way through a bustling city gate, the stone archway echoing with the sounds of carts and chattering people. The sheer density of communication that flowed through the Tang Dynasty postal system is staggering to contemplate. It wasn't just a trickle of important decrees. It was a constant torrent of information, a daily deluge that kept the vast empire connected and functioning. Imagine a network that carried everything from the minutiae of local administration to urgent military intelligence, from reports on agricultural yields to diplomatic correspondence with far-flung kingdoms. This was the internet of its day, without the cat videos, sadly. It was a testament to the insatiable need for information in a complex, centralized state. The types of information transmitted were incredibly diverse. Imperial edicts, announcing new laws, policies, or appointments, were paramount. These messages carried the direct voice of the emperor and had to reach every corner of the realm swiftly and accurately. Then there were the myriad administrative reports, flowing upwards from local prefectures to the central government, detailing everything from crime rates and tax collections to the condition of infrastructure and the welfare of the populace. This constant stream of data allowed the capital to maintain a finger on the pulse of the entire empire, ensuring effective governance. A quirky tidbit is that even mundane requests for supplies or maintenance at postal stations themselves would have been processed through this system, adding to the sheer volume of daily dispatches. Military intelligence, as we have touched upon, was perhaps the most critical category. Reports on troop movements, enemy incursions, border security, and battlefield outcomes had to be transmitted with the utmost urgency. The speed of these dispatches could literally mean the difference between victory and defeat, or the suppression of a rebellion before it spiraled out of control. Think of it as a constant, real-time battle map being updated by couriers, allowing the war ministry to react with precision. Historians still argue whether the sheer volume of routine administrative messages sometimes inadvertently slowed down the transmission of truly urgent military dispatches. Was there a risk of critical information getting lost in the noise, or were the prioritization protocols robust enough to prevent this? Beyond government functions, the postal system also facilitated a surprising amount of cultural exchange. While not explicitly designed for private citizens, scholarly correspondence, literary works, and even new technologies could travel along these routes, often piggybacking on official missions or carried by individuals granted special permission. This informal flow of information contributed to the vibrant intellectual and artistic life of the Tang Dynasty, allowing ideas to spread rapidly across the empire. Imagine a poet sending his latest verses to a friend across the empire, trusting them to the same network that carried imperial decrees. It was a powerful tool for cultural dissemination. The very act of carrying such a vast volume of information also implied a strong sense of trust in the system. The government trusted its couriers to deliver, and it trusted the system to maintain the integrity of its messages. This trust was built on a foundation of strict regulations, rigorous training, and severe penalties for failure. It was a high-stakes game, but one that the Tang Dynasty was willing to play for the immense benefits of centralized control and rapid response. Without that trust, the entire edifice would crumble. The impact of this high volume of communication on Tang society was profound. It meant that the emperor's will could be made known quickly, even in distant provinces, reinforcing central authority. It allowed for greater coordination between different government departments and military units. It also meant that news, both good and bad, could travel with unprecedented speed, shaping public opinion and allowing for more rapid responses to crises. It was a constant reminder of the empire's interconnectedness, a web of information that bound together disparate regions into a cohesive whole. The scale of this daily information flow is a testament to the administrative ambition and logistical prowess of the Tang Dynasty. They understood that in an empire of such immense size, the ability to communicate efficiently was not just a convenience, but the very lifeblood of governance. It was a silent, tireless testament to their organizational genius, ensuring that the wheels of administration turned smoothly, day in and day out, delivering messages that shaped the destiny of one of the greatest empires in history. The volume was immense, but so too was the system's capacity to handle it. You are now waiting patiently at a river crossing, watching a ferry slowly make its way across the wide expanse of water. The strategic placement of postal stations was not arbitrary. It was a meticulously planned exercise in logistics, designed to optimize speed and efficiency across the vast and varied terrain of the Tang Empire. Think of it as a giant, ancient GPS system, calculating the most efficient points for relay and replenishment. The placement of each station was critical to the overall performance of the network, ensuring minimal downtime and maximum throughput for Imperial messages. On land routes, stations were typically spaced every 10 to 15 miles. This distance was carefully chosen to represent roughly the maximum effective riding distance for a swift horse at a gallop before it needed to be rested or replaced. Placing them too close together would be inefficient, requiring too many stations and too many personnel. Placing them too far apart would exhaust horses and couriers, slowing down the overall transit time. It was a finely tuned balance, a precise calculation of animal endurance and human capacity. A quirky tidbit is that official Tang regulations sometimes even specified the exact distance between stations in various types of terrain, from flat plains to mountainous regions, demonstrating the meticulous planning involved. In mountainous regions, the spacing might be slightly shorter due to the increased exertion required for horses and couriers. Conversely, in vast, flat plains, the distance might be stretched a bit further, allowing for longer stretches of continuous fast riding. The terrain dictated the rhythm of the postal system, and the stations were placed to adapt to it. Imagine trying to set up a relay race across a continent, accounting for every hill, river, and desert. It was a colossal mapping and planning exercise, executed without the benefit of satellite imagery. Water postal stations were similarly strategically located at key river junctions, port cities, and along major canals. These points facilitated the transfer of goods and messages between land and water routes, or between different waterways. They also served as crucial hubs for provisioning boats and crews. The confluence of rivers, for instance, would be a natural point for a postal station, as it offered access to multiple routes and maximized connectivity. Historians still argue whether the placement of some isolated postal stations was primarily for administrative control over a remote area, or if it was driven by specific military needs, such as guarding a frontier or monitoring a restive population. Was it about sending mail, or about projecting power? The placement of stations also considered the availability of resources. Stations needed access to water, fodder for horses, and sometimes even local labor. While the central government provided core resources, relying on local supplies where possible would have been more efficient and sustainable. This meant that strategic placement often took into account the agricultural capacity of the surrounding region, ensuring a steady supply chain for the network. It was a balance between logistical efficiency and resource availability, a constant negotiation with the practical realities of the landscape. Security was another factor in station placement. Larger stations, especially those on major routes or near border regions, were often fortified and garrisoned to protect against bandits or enemy incursions. This ensured the safety of Imperial messages and the personnel who handled them. The stations were not just logistical hubs, they were also small outposts of Imperial authority, visible reminders of the government's presence and its commitment to maintaining order. Imagine approaching a fortified postal station, its walls providing a welcome sense of security after a long, dangerous ride. The meticulous planning behind the strategic placement of Tang postal stations underscores the advanced administrative capabilities of the empire. They understood that a network's efficiency is determined not just by the speed of its individual components, but by the intelligent design of its overall structure. It was a sophisticated exercise in logistical optimization, ensuring that the arteries of communication flowed as swiftly and smoothly as possible, binding together the vast and diverse territories of the Tang Dynasty. This attention to detail, from the macro-level planning to the micro-level execution, was a hallmark of their success. You are now trudging through a muddy path, the recent rain having turned the dirt into a viscous, shoe-grabbing mess. Beyond the main arteries of the Tang postal system, there existed a network of feeder routes and local connections that ensured even the most remote villages and outposts could eventually connect with the Imperial communication grid. Think of it like the small roads that lead to the major highways. They might not be as fast, but they are essential for reaching every destination. These local connections, though slower and less standardized, were crucial for the comprehensive reach of the Tang administration. Without them, vast swaths of the empire would have remained isolated, their administrative processes cut off from the central government. These feeder routes were often maintained by local authorities or even by the communities themselves. They might involve local messengers on foot, ox carts, or even small boats on minor waterways. The speed and frequency of service on these routes would have varied considerably depending on the terrain, population density, and local resources. A quirky tidbit is that in some extremely remote areas, a system of smoke signals or beacon fires was occasionally used to transmit urgent, but very limited, information over long distances, acting as a primitive form of emergency communication that could then be picked up by a more formal postal route. It was a localized solution for a unique problem, bridging the gap to the established network. The purpose of these local connections was primarily to transmit administrative reports from villages and districts up to the prefectural level, and to disseminate imperial decrees downwards. Imagine a village elder painstakingly writing a report on crop yields, knowing that it would eventually, slowly, make its way to the capital. This was the lifeline of local governance, allowing the central government to collect information and exert its authority even at the grassroots level. Historians still argue whether the local population perceived these feeder routes as a benevolent service provided by the state, or as another burdensome imposition, requiring their labor and resources without direct benefit. Was it seen as helpful or simply demanding? The challenges on these feeder routes were often more pronounced than on the main lines. Roads might be unpaved and susceptible to weather damage. Bandits might be a greater threat due to less frequent patrols. Resources for maintenance and staffing would have been scarcer. Yet, these routes persisted, a testament to the persistent need for communication across the entire empire. They were the unsung heroes of the postal system, ensuring that no part of the vast Tang domain was completely cut off. The couriers on these local routes might have been less formally trained than their imperial counterparts, often local residents performing this duty as part of their community obligations or as a paid service. Their dedication, though perhaps less celebrated, was equally vital to the overall functioning of the system. They were the grassroots communicators, connecting the common people to the grand machinery of the empire. It was a humble, yet indispensable, role. The existence of these feeder routes highlights the comprehensive nature of the Tang administrative system. They understood that effective governance required not only swift communication between major centers, but also the ability to reach every single corner of their vast territory. It was a recognition that information, even if it traveled slowly, was essential for maintaining order and control. The empire's reach extended to the most remote hamlets, thanks to these unassuming but vital pathways. In essence, the Tang postal system was a complex organism with many different parts, each playing a specific role. The high-speed main arteries ensured rapid transmission of urgent messages, while the slower but ubiquitous feeder routes ensured universal coverage. This layered approach to communication allowed the Tang Dynasty to project its power and administer its empire with a degree of effectiveness that was truly remarkable for its time. It was a testament to their logistical foresight, building a network that could handle the immense volume and diversity of information required to govern a continent-spanning civilization. It was a silent, tireless effort that touched every life in the empire, even if few recognized its complex architecture. You are now riding through a dense, fog-laden landscape, the world reduced to muted colors and muffled sounds. The importance of weather conditions and geographical features on the speed and reliability of Tang Dynasty mail cannot be overstated. Unlike modern communication systems that largely shrug off environmental challenges, the ancient postal network was intimately, sometimes brutally, connected to the whims of nature. Imagine trying to deliver a critical message during a torrential downpour or a sudden blizzard. with no radar or satellite images to guide you. Every journey was a gamble against the elements. Rainfall could turn unpaved roads into muddy quagmires, drastically slowing down horses and couriers. Bridges could be washed away by swollen rivers, forcing long detours. Heavy snowfalls in mountainous regions could render passes impassable for days or even weeks, completely cutting off communication. These were not minor inconveniences. They were major disruptions that could have significant consequences, especially for military dispatches. A quirky tidbit is that postal stations in areas prone to heavy snowfall sometimes maintained a stock of skis or snowshoes for couriers, or even specialized sleds for transporting messages over snow-covered terrain, demonstrating their adaptability to extreme conditions. Deserts, with their extreme temperatures, sandstorms, and scarcity of water, presented a different set of formidable challenges. The heat could exhaust both human and animal quickly, and sandstorms could disorient travelers and obscure landmarks, leading to delays or even lost couriers. Conversely, in the fertile plains, while generally more favorable, unexpected floods or droughts could still impact routes and resource availability. Historians still argue whether the Tang government had comprehensive contingency plans for natural disasters, or if the system relied more on the resilience and adaptability of local officials and couriers to overcome such challenges as they arose. Was it centralized planning or localized improvisation? Mountain ranges, like the towering peaks of the Himalayas or the rugged Kinling Mountains, were perpetual obstacles. Routes through these areas were often steep, winding, and narrow, making fast travel impossible. The risk of landslides, rockfalls, and sudden weather changes was constant. Couriers in these regions had to be exceptionally skilled and hardy, navigating treacherous terrain often on foot, or with specialized animals like yaks. The very geography of China dictated the speeds and methods of communication in different regions. Beyond the physical challenges, weather also impacted resource availability. Droughts could lead to fodder shortages for horses, while floods could destroy crops, affecting the supply of provisions for stations. Maintaining a consistent supply chain in the face of unpredictable weather was a constant logistical battle. Imagine trying to find enough hay for 100 horses when the entire region has just suffered a drought. It was a test of resourcefulness and foresight. The impact of these environmental factors on mail speed was direct and significant. A journey that might take a few days under ideal conditions could stretch into weeks during adverse weather. Urgent military messages could be delayed, potentially altering the course of battles or rebellions. The Tang government was acutely aware of these limitations and built a certain degree of redundancy into the system where possible. But ultimately, they were at the mercy of nature. Despite these formidable challenges, the Tang postal system remained remarkably resilient. Its longevity and consistent operation, even in the face of severe environmental disruptions, speak volumes about the dedication of its personnel and the adaptability of its administrative framework. It was a testament to human perseverance against the forces of nature, a daily struggle to keep the lines of communication open, regardless of what the heavens or the earth threw at them. The elements were a constant, unpredictable adversary, yet the mail, against all odds, usually got through. You are now observing a group of wary couriers gathering around a small fire, their faces etched with the fatigue of a long journey. The daily life of a Tang Dynasty postal courier was incredibly arduous, demanding an extraordinary combination of physical stamina, mental resilience, and unwavering dedication. This was not a cushy desk job. It was a life lived in the saddle or on foot, constantly battling against time, distance, and the elements. Imagine signing up for a job where your office is the entire empire, and your commute is a perpetual race against the clock. Couriers typically began their shifts before dawn, preparing their horses and ensuring their message pouches were securely fastened and sealed. Their days were spent covering vast distances, often at a gallop, pushing themselves and their mounts to the limits of endurance. The rhythmic pounding of hooves, the wind whipping past their ears, and the endless stretch of road would have been their constant companions. It was a solitary existence for much of the journey, punctuated by brief, frantic stops at relay stations. A quirky tidbit is that some couriers were known to carry a small, portable drum or whistle to signal their approach to a station from afar, allowing the next courier to prepare for a rapid handover and minimizing any delay. They faced constant exposure to the elements: scorching sun in summer, biting cold in winter, and drenching rain in between. Roads were often unpaved, dusty in dry weather, and muddy quagmires after rain. The threat of banditry was ever present, forcing couriers to remain vigilant and sometimes travel in armed groups for safety, especially on dangerous routes. Imagine the paranoia of riding alone through a desolate landscape, knowing that your life and your precious cargo could be at risk around any bend. Historians still argue whether the majority of couriers were voluntary recruits, or if a significant portion were conscripted, particularly during times of war or heavy demand. Was it a profession chosen or a duty imposed? Rest stops at postal stations were brief and utilitarian. The priority was always the message. Personal comfort was secondary. Couriers would quickly transfer their dispatches, grab a fresh horse, perhaps a quick bite to eat, and be back on the road within minutes. Sleep would have been fragmented and often taken in shifts, catching a few hours at a station before the next leg of their journey. Their bodies would have been constantly aching, their minds wary, but the imperial mandate demanded their unwavering commitment. The psychological toll of the job would have been immense. The constant pressure of time, the isolation of long rides, the fear of danger, and the immense responsibility of carrying imperial messages would have weighed heavily on their minds. Yet, they persevered, driven by a sense of duty, the desire for advancement, and perhaps the simple need to earn a living. They were the unsung heroes of the Tang communication network, their sacrifices largely invisible to the grand machinery of the empire they served. Despite the hardships, there was also a certain prestige associated with being an imperial courier. They were part of a vital state function, entrusted with carrying the emperor's will. This status might have offered them certain privileges or respect in the communities they passed through. It was a difficult life, but one that was recognized as essential. The life of a Tang Dynasty postal courier was a testament to human endurance and dedication. They were the living links in the vast imperial communication chain, ensuring that the arteries of the empire pulsed with vital information. Their daily struggles and tireless efforts were the unsung foundation upon which the speed and efficiency of Tang Mail were built. Without their relentless commitment, the impressive logistical feats of the Tang postal system would have remained merely theoretical. They were the embodiment of speed and reliability, pushed to their limits day after day. You are now peering into a bustling market, watching a merchant haggle over prices. The Tang Dynasty postal system, while primarily designed for official and military purposes, had a significant, albeit indirect, impact on trade and commerce throughout the empire. Think of it as a hidden current that influenced the flow of goods and wealth, even if it wasn't directly carrying merchant parcels. The very existence of such a robust communication network fostered an environment of greater certainty and opportunity for traders, allowing for more efficient planning and execution of commercial ventures. The most obvious impact was the ability to transmit market information. Merchants could send messages ahead to inquire about prices, demand, and supply in distant cities. This real-time, or rather, real-time for the 7th century, intelligence allowed them to make more informed decisions about what goods to buy, where to sell them, and when to transport them. Imagine a merchant in Chang'an receiving a message from a counterpart in Guangzhou about a sudden surge in demand for silk. This information could be invaluable for quickly dispatching goods and maximizing profits. A quirky tidbit is that wealthy merchants sometimes paid a premium to have their own private couriers shadow the imperial postal routes, benefiting from the maintained roads and security, even if they couldn't use the official service directly. The postal system also facilitated the coordination of large-scale commercial ventures. If a merchant wanted to ship a large quantity of goods, they could use the postal system to send instructions to their agents, or to coordinate with transport providers in different regions. This reduced the risk and uncertainty associated with long-distance trade, making it more viable and attractive. It was like having a rudimentary logistical planning tool at your disposal, allowing for more strategic and efficient supply chains. Historians still argue whether the Tang government intentionally designed the postal system to support commerce, or if its commercial benefits were merely a fortunate byproduct of its primary administrative and military functions. Was it a deliberate economic booster, or just a happy accident? The security offered by the postal routes also benefited traders, while private couriers and merchant caravans were still vulnerable to banditry. The presence of imperial postal stations and the general effort to keep major routes clear and safe provided a safer environment for all travelers, including merchants. This reduced the risk of loss due to robbery, making long-distance trade more secure and therefore more profitable. Imagine traveling a perilous route, knowing that at least imperial authority was keeping some semblance of order. Furthermore, the very act of imperial officials and couriers traveling frequently along these routes helped to maintain the roads and infrastructure. Bridges were repaired, paths were cleared, and general upkeep was performed, all of which directly benefited commercial traffic. This was a direct, tangible benefit that merchants could leverage without contributing directly to the postal system's upkeep. It was a public good that indirectly served private enterprise. The rapid movement of official documents related to taxation, customs, and regulations also brought greater clarity and consistency to commercial operations. Merchants could be quickly informed of new policies, allowing them to adjust their strategies accordingly. This reduced the element of surprise and uncertainty, fostering a more stable environment for trade. It was a framework that, while imposing rules, also provided predictable conditions for business. In essence, the Tang Dynasty postal system, despite its primary focus, acted as a significant enabler of economic activity. By providing reliable communication channels, fostering a safer travel environment, and indirectly maintaining vital infrastructure, it contributed to the flourishing of trade and commerce across the vast empire. It was a silent partner in the Tang economic miracle, a testament to how seemingly disparate governmental functions can have far-reaching and positive ripple effects on society as a whole. The faster the messages moved, the faster the goods could move, and the faster the economy could grow. You are now standing at a bustling crossroads, watching people from different regions and walks of life converge. The Tang Dynasty postal system was not merely a utilitarian network for transmitting messages. It was a powerful tool for cultural exchange and political integration across the vast and diverse empire. Think of it as the original social network, but instead of digital memes, it was spreading ideas, styles, and even dialects. The constant movement of people and information along these arteries subtly, yet profoundly, shaped the cultural landscape of Tang China. Imperial couriers, traveling across diverse regions, inadvertently became carriers of culture. They would observe local customs, hear regional dialects, and encounter different artistic styles, bringing these experiences back to the capital or transmitting them to other parts of the empire. While their primary mission was speed, their very presence facilitated a blending and diffusion of cultural elements. Imagine a courier from the bustling capital sharing stories of frontier life with a colleague from a southern province, fostering a sense of shared imperial identity. Official documents themselves, particularly those related to governance laws and imperial pronouncements, helped to standardize administrative practices and legal frameworks across the empire. This promoted a sense of legal uniformity and reinforced the authority of the central government, binding disparate regions under a common administrative umbrella. It was a subtle but effective way of integrating the empire, not just through military might, but through shared understanding and application of imperial law. A quirky tidbit is that the style and calligraphy of official imperial documents often became models for regional scribes, further promoting a standardized aesthetic across the empire through the postal system. Beyond official communications, the postal system also facilitated the movement of scholars, artists, and religious figures. While they might not have been official couriers, their journeys often benefited from the established routes, the security of the stations, and the general ease of travel that the postal network provided. This meant that new ideas, philosophical debates, artistic trends, and religious doctrines could spread more rapidly from one intellectual center to another, fostering a vibrant intellectual climate. Historians still argue whether the spread of Buddhism throughout China during the Tang Dynasty was significantly aided by the existing postal and transportation networks, allowing monks and scriptures to travel with relative ease. Was the infrastructure a cause or an effect of intellectual diffusion? The demand for tribute from various regions, transported via the postal system, also contributed to cultural exchange. Rare local products, exotic animals, and unique crafts would arrive in the capital, exposing the imperial court and elite to the diverse cultural expressions of the empire's far-flung territories. This flow of tangible goods sometimes inspired new artistic forms or culinary trends, creating a cross-pollination of cultural elements. Imagine a rare fruit from the south sparking a new culinary craze in the imperial palace, thanks to its swift delivery. The very presence of imperial postal stations in remote areas served as a visible reminder of the central government's reach and authority. This constant imperial presence helped to reinforce a sense of shared identity and loyalty to the Tang Dynasty among diverse populations. It was a symbol of unity, demonstrating that no matter how far away, every region was connected to the heart of the empire. This contributed to political integration, fostering a common sense of belonging within the vast Tang domain. In essence, the Tang Dynasty postal system was a silent, yet powerful, engine of cultural exchange and political integration. By facilitating the constant movement of people and information, both official and unofficial, it helped to weave together the diverse threads of the empire into a more cohesive and unified whole. It was a testament to the fact that communication, even in its most basic forms, can be a profound force for shaping societies, fostering shared identities, and extending the reach of centralized power. The speed of the mail was not just about logistics. It was about the subtle alchemy of cultural fusion. You are now standing on a dusty frontier outpost, the wind whistling mournfully through the barren landscape. The role of the Tang Dynasty postal system in imperial expansion and consolidation cannot be overstated. As the empire grew, pushing its borders outwards into Central Asia, the Korean Peninsula, and parts of Southeast Asia, the need for rapid and reliable communication became paramount. Think of the postal network as the nervous system of an expanding organism, allowing the central brain to control its ever-growing limbs. Without it, such widespread control would have been impossible. During periods of military expansion, the postal system was vital for transmitting intelligence on enemy movements, issuing orders to distant armies, and coordinating large-scale campaigns. Commanders in the field relied on swift dispatches to make timely decisions, while the imperial court needed rapid updates to assess the overall strategic situation. This ability to communicate quickly across vast distances gave the Tang military a significant advantage over less organized or slower-moving adversaries. Imagine trying to conquer a new territory without knowing where your troops are or what the enemy is doing. It would be a chaotic mess. A quirky tidbit is that during campaigns, temporary postal stations would sometimes be set up along the advancing lines, extending the network as the army moved forward, showcasing a remarkable adaptability and logistical foresight. Once new territories were conquered, the postal system played a crucial role in their consolidation and integration into the empire. Imperial decrees establishing new administrative divisions, appointing local officials, and imposing Tang laws could be quickly disseminated. This ensured that the newly acquired lands were brought under central control swiftly and effectively, minimizing the risk of rebellion or secession. It was a tool of administrative conquest, allowing the empire to absorb new territories with remarkable speed. Historians still argue whether the extensive communication network facilitated the peaceful assimilation of conquered populations, or if it primarily served as a means of enforcing Tang rule and suppressing dissent. Was it a tool of integration or a means of control? The movement of troops and supplies, while not directly transported by the postal system in bulk, was greatly facilitated by its communication channels. Commanders could send requisitions for specific resources, and the central government could allocate and dispatch them efficiently, knowing that their orders would reach the relevant authorities quickly. This logistical support was crucial for sustaining large armies in distant lands. Imagine trying to supply an army hundreds of miles from home without knowing if your supply lines are secure or if your orders have been received. It would be a logistical nightmare. The visible presence of Tang postal stations and couriers throughout the newly acquired territories served as a constant reminder of imperial authority. It demonstrated the emperor's reach and the seamless flow of power from the capital to the farthest corners of the realm. This physical manifestation of control helped to legitimize Tang rule and instill a sense of order in conquered regions. It was a silent, yet powerful, symbol of dominion, asserting imperial presence even in the most remote outposts. Furthermore, the postal system facilitated diplomatic exchanges with neighboring states, both those who were tributaries and those who were independent. Messages related to treaties, alliances, and foreign policy could be transmitted quickly, allowing for swift responses to diplomatic overtures or crises. This enhanced the Tang Dynasty's ability to manage its foreign relations and maintain regional stability. It was the ancient world's diplomatic telegraph, allowing for nuanced communication across borders. In essence, the Tang Dynasty postal system was an indispensable instrument in the empire's cycles of expansion and consolidation. It provided the vital communication backbone that enabled military conquests, facilitated administrative integration of new territories, and supported effective diplomatic relations. It was a silent, tireless force that allowed the Tang emperors to project their power and influence across an ever-expanding domain, truly making it an empire of unprecedented reach and control. The speed of the mail was not just about getting letters there quickly. It was about building and maintaining a vast and enduring empire. You are now standing before a formidable mountain pass, the sheer cliffs looming above you. The sound of a rushing river far below echoes in the silence. The engineering and infrastructure required to support the Tang Dynasty postal system were truly monumental, a testament to the empire's ability to mobilize resources and manpower on an epic scale. This wasn't just about digging a few paths. It was about creating a nationwide network of meticulously maintained roads, bridges, and stations, all designed to facilitate the rapid movement of information. Think of it as a constant, colossal construction project, always adapting and improving. The main postal routes were often wide, well-engineered roads, designed to allow for fast travel by horse. While not paved in the modern sense, they would have been carefully graded, cleared of obstacles, and regularly maintained to ensure smooth passage. In challenging terrain, switchbacks were built to navigate steep inclines, and causeways were constructed across marshy areas. This level of road building was a significant undertaking, requiring continuous labor and resources. Imagine trying to build and maintain thousands of miles of road across mountains, deserts, and rivers, all with hand tools. It sounds like a fun weekend project. Bridges were critical components of the network, allowing couriers to cross rivers and ravines without significant delay. These could range from simple wooden bridges over smaller streams to impressive stone or arched structures over major rivers. The construction and maintenance of these bridges required skilled engineers and considerable financial investment, but they were essential for maintaining the continuity and speed of the postal routes. A quirky tidbit is that some of the larger, strategically important bridges along postal routes were sometimes fortified and guarded, highlighting their importance for both communication and defense. Postal stations themselves were significant pieces of infrastructure. They ranged in size and complexity, but all provided essential services: stables for horses, lodging for couriers, storage for provisions, and facilities for record keeping. Larger stations might also have had repair workshops for carts, living quarters for permanent staff, and even small fortifications. These were not just simple shelters, they were functional logistical hubs, carefully designed to support the continuous flow of the mail. Historians still argue whether the standardized design and layout of postal stations across the empire were primarily for efficiency of operation, or if they also served as a visual representation of the central government's omnipresence and uniformity of rule. Was it about function or about symbolism? Water postal stations required specialized infrastructure, including piers, docks, and boat repair facilities. The Grand Canal, a marvel of ancient engineering, was itself a vital piece of postal infrastructure, allowing for rapid waterborne communication and transport between north and south. Its construction and ongoing maintenance were monumental tasks, providing a navigable highway for Imperial communication. Imagine dredging a canal thousands of miles long, without modern machinery, just sheer manpower. The upkeep of this vast infrastructure was a continuous and demanding process. Roads would erode, bridges would need repairs, and stations would suffer wear and tear. Local communities and government officials were often responsible for maintaining the sections of the network that passed through their jurisdiction, contributing labor and resources. This decentralized maintenance system, coordinated by the central government, was essential for the long-term viability of the postal system. It was a constant battle against decay, a never-ending cycle of building and rebuilding. The scale of this infrastructure project, and the enduring commitment to its maintenance, speaks volumes about the Tang Dynasty's administrative capabilities and its understanding of the critical role that efficient communication played in governing a vast empire. They recognized that investing in infrastructure was not just about moving people and goods, but about moving information, the very lifeblood of centralized power. The engineering feats were not just impressive. They were foundational to the speed and efficiency that characterized Tang Mail, enabling the empire to truly function as a cohesive whole. You are now observing a group of scribes meticulously copying documents in a dimly lit government office. The administrative protocols and regulations governing the Tang Dynasty postal system were incredibly detailed and strict, reflecting the empire's commitment to precision, efficiency, and accountability. This wasn't a casual operation. It was a tightly controlled bureaucratic machine where every step of the communication process was governed by explicit rules. Think of it as a manual so comprehensive it would make your head spin, ensuring that every message was handled with the utmost care and professionalism. Every Imperial dispatch had a specific urgency level, clearly marked on the document itself. This ranged from urgent for military intelligence and critical decrees, to ordinary for routine administrative reports, and slow for non-time-sensitive documents. These urgency levels dictated the speed of delivery, the number of horses to be used, and the priority at relay stations. Couriers were under strict orders to adhere to these classifications, knowing that failure to do so could result in severe penalties. Imagine being handed a message and instantly knowing exactly how fast you needed to ride, no questions asked. Detailed records were kept at every postal station. When a message arrived, its time of arrival, the courier's name, and the originating station were logged. Upon departure, the time, the next courier's name, and the destination were recorded. This meticulous chain of custody created a comprehensive audit trail, allowing central authorities to track the progress of every message and identify any delays or irregularities. This was an early form of quality control, ensuring that accountability was maintained throughout the entire network. A quirky tidbit is that some regulations even specified the type of ink and paper to be used for official postal records, further standardizing the system and ensuring longevity of the documentation. Couriers were also subject to strict regulations regarding their conduct and responsibilities. They were forbidden from tampering with messages, delaying dispatches for personal reasons, or engaging in unauthorized activities. Their integrity was paramount, as they were entrusted with the emperor's will and the empire's security. Penalties for dereliction of duty were severe, ranging from flogging and demotion to exile, or even execution for serious offenses. This strict disciplinary framework ensured that couriers understood the gravity of their mission. Historians still argue whether the enforcement of these strict regulations was consistent across the vast empire, or if local interpretations and leniency sometimes varied depending on the region and the official in charge. Was it uniformly applied or subject to local discretion? The allocation of resources, particularly horses and provisions, was also governed by detailed regulations. Station chiefs had clear guidelines on how many horses to keep, how much fodder to stock, and how to manage their personnel. This ensured that resources were used efficiently and that every station was adequately equipped to perform its duties. It was a centralized system of resource management, ensuring that the network never ran out of its vital components. Beyond the formal regulations, there was also a culture of dedication and professionalism fostered within the postal service. Couriers and postal officials understood their crucial role in the functioning of the empire and often took great pride in their work. This intangible aspect of commitment played a significant role in the overall efficiency and reliability of the system. It was not just about following rules. It was about a shared sense of purpose. The Tang Dynasty's administrative protocols for its postal system represent a remarkable achievement in bureaucratic organization. They demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of logistics, accountability, and human resource management, far ahead of their time. These meticulous regulations were not just arbitrary rules. They were the very foundation upon which the speed, reliability, and reach of Tang Mail were built, enabling an empire of unprecedented scale to communicate with remarkable efficiency. They were the unseen architects of speed, ensuring that the wheels of empire turned smoothly and swiftly. You are now standing in a vast imperial archive, surrounded by countless scrolls and meticulously organized records. The sheer volume of historical records and official documents that have survived from the Tang Dynasty provides invaluable insights into the workings of its postal system. This abundance of primary sources allows modern historians to reconstruct the intricate details of a communication network that existed over 1,000 years ago, revealing its complexities and efficiencies. Imagine trying to piece together the history of something so vast, relying on snippets and guesses. Fortunately, the Tang loved their paperwork. These surviving records include official correspondence between the central government and local authorities, detailing the movement of messages, resource allocations, and operational challenges. There are also reports from postal officials themselves, outlining the conditions of routes, the performance of couriers, and the needs of their stations. These documents provide a window into the daily realities of the postal service, from the grand strategic directives to the mundane logistical details. A quirky tidbit is that some of these records even include specific instances where couriers were commended for exceptional speed or penalized for delays, offering personal glimpses into the human element of the system. Beyond official administrative records, historical chronicles and personal accounts also shed light on the postal system. Poets like Du Fu and Bai Zhou, who often served as government officials, sometimes mention the postal service in their writings, either directly or indirectly, providing glimpses into its social and cultural impact. These literary sources, though not always accurate in their factual details, offer a valuable human perspective on how the system was perceived and experienced by people of the time. Historians still argue whether the literary accounts of postal speed and efficiency are sometimes exaggerated for dramatic effect, or if they accurately reflect the system's peak performance under ideal conditions. Was it poetic license or faithful reporting? Archaeological discoveries have also contributed to our understanding. Excavations of Tang Dynasty sites have sometimes unearthed remnants of postal stations, including foundations, stables, and even fragments of official seals or tolly sticks used by couriers. These material remains provide tangible evidence of the physical infrastructure that supported the system, allowing historians to corroborate and expand upon the written records. Imagine digging up an ancient post office, complete with tiny stables for tiny horses. Well, not tiny horses, but you get the idea. The consistency and detail of these records are a testament to the Tang Dynasty's highly organized bureaucracy. They understood the importance of documentation for governance, accountability, and historical preservation. This meticulous record-keeping tradition is one of the reasons why we know so much about their postal system, allowing us to appreciate its sophistication even today. Without this paper trail, much of its history would remain a mystery. The study of these primary sources allows historians to analyze various aspects of the postal system: its organizational structure, its financial costs, its operational speeds, and its impact on different facets of Tang society. By cross-referencing different types of records, scholars can piece together a comprehensive picture of this complex network, identifying patterns, trends, and specific events. It is like putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle, with each historical document providing another piece. In essence, the enduring legacy of the Tang Dynasty postal system is not just in its historical impact, but also in the rich body of evidence it left behind. These records allow us to travel back in time, to understand the daily lives of couriers, the administrative challenges of governing a vast empire, and the ingenious solutions developed to overcome geographical and temporal barriers. They are the silent witnesses to a remarkable achievement in ancient logistics and communication, allowing us to appreciate why Tang Dynasty mail was indeed faster than you would think. The past, in this case, is quite literally written down for us to discover. You are now sitting cross-legged in a quiet tea house, observing the slow, deliberate movements of a calligrapher at work. The integration of the Tang Dynasty postal system into the broader administrative and military apparatus of the empire was seamless, a fundamental aspect of how the government operated. It wasn't a standalone service. It was the essential connective tissue that allowed all other branches of the state to function effectively. Think of it as the central nervous system, without which the body of the empire would be paralyzed. Every major government department, from the Ministry of Revenue to the Ministry of War, relied on its efficiency. For the Ministry of War, as we have discussed, the postal system was indispensable for military command and control. It allowed for rapid deployment of troops, timely intelligence gathering, and coordinated responses to threats. Without the ability to send urgent dispatches across vast distances, the Tang military would have been severely hampered in its ability to defend borders or suppress rebellions. It was the strategic enabler for their formidable military might. A quirky tidbit is that military reports were sometimes hand-carried by highly trusted generals or emissaries for particularly sensitive information. But even then, the postal system would have facilitated their travel and provided support along the route. The Ministry of Revenue relied on the postal system to transmit tax collection reports from local prefectures to the central government. This allowed the imperial court to monitor the economic health of the empire, assess financial needs, and make informed decisions about resource allocation. Similarly, directives regarding tax policies and financial regulations flowed downwards through the same network, ensuring consistency and compliance across the realm. Imagine trying to run a national economy without knowing how much money was coming in or going out. It would be a chaotic mess. Historians still argue whether the efficiency of the postal system in transmitting revenue reports directly contributed to the Tang Dynasty's impressive economic prosperity, or if it simply facilitated the existing economic structures. Was it a driver of wealth, or just a mirror of it? The Ministry of Justice used the postal system to transmit judicial rulings, legal precedents, and reports on criminal cases. This ensured a degree of legal uniformity across the empire and allowed the central government to oversee the administration of justice in distant provinces. It was a crucial link in maintaining law and order and upholding imperial authority. Imagine a complex legal case being adjudicated in the capital and its ruling being disseminated to all local courts through the postal network. It ensured consistency in jurisprudence. Even the Ministry of Personnel, responsible for appointing and managing civil servants, relied on the postal system to transmit appointment decrees, transfer orders, and performance reviews. This allowed for the efficient deployment of officials across the empire, ensuring that talent was allocated where it was most needed. It was the Human Resources Department's vital lifeline, enabling them to manage a vast bureaucracy. The Imperial Court itself, the very heart of the Tang Dynasty, was utterly dependent on the postal system for its daily functioning. The emperor received intelligence, reports, and tribute through this network, allowing him to stay informed and exert his authority over every facet of the empire. Without this constant flow of information, the emperor's power would have been severely diminished, and his ability to govern effectively would have been compromised. It was the emperor's eyes and ears, extending his reach across the vast domain. In essence, the Tang Dynasty postal system was not just a sideshow, it was an integral and indispensable component of the entire imperial apparatus. Its seamless integration into every aspect of administration, military operations, and economic oversight was a testament to its fundamental importance. It was the silent, tireless engine that allowed the Tang Dynasty to function as a cohesive, centralized, and remarkably efficient empire for centuries. Its speed and reliability were not just impressive feats. They were foundational to the very nature of Tang governance, truly making it faster than you would think. You are now navigating a crowded urban street, the clamor of voices and the scent of exotic spices filling the air. The Tang Dynasty postal system had a subtle, yet significant, impact on the social fabric of the empire, influencing daily life and shaping the broader societal experience in ways that often go unnoticed. While most ordinary citizens didn't directly use the Imperial Postal Service for personal letters, its existence and pervasive presence had ripple effects throughout society. Think of it as a constant background hum of efficiency that subtly shaped the rhythm of life. One of the most direct social impacts was on the lives of the couriers themselves. As we discussed, their job was arduous and often perilous, but it also offered a unique status as imperial servants. They were a distinct social group, traveling extensively, encountering diverse peoples, and carrying messages of immense importance. Their very presence in villages and towns along the postal routes would have been a regular sight, a reminder of the central government's reach. A quirky tidbit is that some couriers, after years of service, might have retired with small pensions or grants of land, recognizing their valuable contribution to the empire. For local communities, the presence of a postal station often brought economic benefits. It created demand for local goods and services, food for couriers and horses, blacksmithing for repairs, and sometimes even temporary labor for maintenance. These stations could become minor hubs of activity, attracting travelers and fostering local trade. Imagine a quiet village suddenly becoming a stop on the imperial mail route, bringing new faces and some economic vibrancy. The speed of official communication also had a social consequence in terms of information dissemination. While news might not have traveled as fast as imperial decrees, the very existence of a rapid communication network meant that significant events, such as imperial appointments, military victories, or major policy changes, could reach the populace much quicker than in previous eras. This fostered a greater sense of connection to the central government and a more unified imperial identity. Historians still argue whether the rapid dissemination of imperial edicts helped to prevent local uprisings, by quickly clarifying central government positions, or if it sometimes inflamed tensions by immediately imposing unpopular policies. Was it a tool for stability, or for exacerbating discontent? Moreover, the postal system indirectly contributed to social mobility. Talented individuals, particularly those with administrative or logistical skills, could rise through the ranks of the postal service, gaining influence and recognition. While not a direct path to the highest echelons of government, it provided a career path within the imperial bureaucracy, offering opportunities for advancement based on merit and performance. It was a functional ladder for ambitious individuals, allowing them to demonstrate their capabilities. The visible presence of imperial couriers and the constant flow of official messages also reinforced the authority and legitimacy of the central government in the eyes of the common people. It was a tangible demonstration of the emperor's power and ability to govern a vast domain. This pervasive imperial presence contributed to a sense of order and stability, which in turn supported economic and social flourishing. It was a silent, omnipresent reminder of the empire's reach. In essence, the Tang Dynasty postal system, though designed for administrative and military purposes, had a profound and multifaceted impact on Tang society. It shaped the lives of its couriers, influenced local economies, facilitated the spread of information, and reinforced the authority of the central government. It was a hidden current that flowed through the veins of the empire, contributing to its dynamism, its interconnectedness, and ultimately, its enduring legacy. The speed of the mail was not just a technical achievement. It was a societal force, subtly shaping the human experience across a vast civilization. You are now in a quiet monastery library, the air thick with the scent of old paper and incense. The influence of the Tang Dynasty postal system extended far beyond China's borders, inspiring and informing the development of similar communication networks in neighboring countries. As a dominant cultural and political power in East Asia, the Tang Dynasty served as a model for many of its neighbors, and its advanced administrative systems, including the postal service, were often emulated. Think of it as a blueprint for efficient governance exported across the region. Courier, particularly the Silla Kingdom, which unified the peninsula during the Tang era, and later the Goryeo dynasty, adopted many aspects of Tang administration, including elements of its communication infrastructure. They established their own network of postal stations and couriers, recognizing the benefits of rapid communication for centralized governance and military defense. While on a smaller scale than the Tang system, the underlying principles of relay stations and prioritized dispatches were clearly influenced by Chinese models. A quirky tidbit is that diplomatic envoys traveling between Tang China and Korea would have utilized these nascent Korean postal systems, further facilitating the exchange of administrative practices and cultural ideas. Similarly, Japan, which sent numerous missions to Tang China to study its institutions, undoubtedly observed and learned from the imperial postal system. While Japan's island geography and internal political structure led to a somewhat different development of its communication networks, the concept of state-run postal services and the importance of official dispatches were certainly influenced by Tang examples. The efficiency and sophistication of the Tang system would have left a lasting impression on Japanese observers. Historians still argue whether the adoption of such complex administrative systems by neighboring states was a direct result of imperial imposition or a voluntary emulation driven by a recognition of their superior efficiency. Was it forced or admired? Even in parts of Southeast Asia, particularly Vietnam, then under Chinese rule for much of the Tang period, the Tang postal system would have been directly implemented, becoming an integral part of their administrative structure. After the eventual independence of these regions, the foundations of these systems often persisted, evolving over time but retaining elements of their Tang origins. The legacy of Tang administration, including its communication networks, proved remarkably enduring. The Silk Road, a conduit for trade and cultural exchange, also saw the influence of the Tang postal system. While not every post station along the entire Silk Road was under direct Tang control, the efficiency of the Tang segment would have set a standard and encouraged similar developments in adjacent regions, fostering a more interconnected Eurasian communication landscape. The very act of Tang couriers and officials traveling these routes would have disseminated knowledge of their advanced system. The core principles of the Tang postal system, the relay method, standardized urgency levels, meticulous record keeping, and dedicated personnel, were highly adaptable and transferable. These were universal solutions to the challenge of long-distance communication in a pre-industrial era, and their success in the Tang Dynasty demonstrated their effectiveness. This made them attractive models for other states seeking to centralize power and administer vast territories more efficiently. In essence, the Tang Dynasty postal system was not just an internal marvel, it was a regional exemplar. Its innovations and efficiencies provided a powerful model for neighboring states, influencing the development of communication networks across East Asia. It was a testament to the Tang Dynasty's soft power, its ability to shape the administrative and logistical practices of other nations through the sheer impressiveness of its own achievements. The speed of Tang mail reverberated not just across China, but across the continent, shaping the very way in which ancient empires communicated and governed. You are now navigating a crowded imperial court, the air thick with whispers and the rustle of silk robes. The impact of the Tang Dynasty postal system on political control and centralization within the empire was profound, serving as a critical instrument for the emperor's authority and the seamless functioning of the vast bureaucratic machinery. Think of it as the ultimate tool for centralizing power, allowing the emperor to truly extend his gaze and his will to every corner of his sprawling domain. Without this efficient communication, the very idea of a unified, centrally governed empire on such a scale would have been far more challenging, if not impossible. The swift and reliable transmission of imperial edicts and decrees ensured that the emperor's commands reached even the most distant provincial officials quickly and without distortion. This reduced the time lag between decision-making in the capital and implementation in the provinces, significantly enhancing the effectiveness of centralized governance. It meant that policies could be enacted uniformly across the empire, reducing regional variations and maintaining a cohesive administrative framework. Imagine a world where every single order from the highest authority had to travel on foot slowly, reaching its destination weeks or months later. It would be a recipe for chaos. A quirky tidbit is that particularly sensitive imperial decrees might be hand-carried by specially appointed eunuchs or trusted officials, rather than regular couriers, underscoring the value placed on both speed and absolute security for certain messages. The postal system also facilitated the constant flow of intelligence and reports from the provinces back to the capital. This allowed the central government to maintain a finger on the pulse of the empire, monitoring local conditions, identifying potential unrest, and assessing the performance of regional officials. This real-time for the era, feedback loop was crucial for proactive governance, allowing the emperor to respond swiftly to challenges and maintain stability. Historians still argue whether the constant flow of information from the provinces led to an over-centralization of power in the capital, potentially stifling local initiative and decision-making. Did it make the empire stronger or less adaptable at the local level? The ability to quickly dispatch military orders and receive battle reports was paramount for maintaining control over the empire's vast armed forces and for suppressing rebellions. The speed of military communication ensured that any signs of dissent could be addressed swiftly, before they escalated into full-blown insurrections. It was a powerful tool for maintaining internal security and projecting military power both within and beyond the empire's borders. Imagine trying to coordinate an army of hundreds of thousands across a continent without knowing where your troops are or what the enemy is doing. It would be a commander's nightmare. The visible presence of imperial postal stations and couriers throughout the empire served as a constant physical reminder of the central government's authority and omnipresence. It demonstrated that the emperor's reach extended to every corner of the realm, fostering a sense of unity and loyalty among the populace. This pervasive imperial presence contributed to the legitimacy of Tang rule and helped to bind disparate regions into a cohesive political entity. It was a silent, yet powerful, symbol of imperial power. Furthermore, the postal system allowed for the swift transfer of officials, ensuring that individuals with specific skills could be deployed where they were most needed, and that potentially disloyal officials could be quickly replaced or recalled. This flexible deployment of human resources further strengthened central control over the bureaucracy. It was a tool for both rewarding competence and managing potential threats to imperial authority. In essence, the Tang Dynasty postal system was more than just a logistical marvel. It was a fundamental pillar of the empire's political structure. Its speed, reliability, and comprehensive reach were indispensable for maintaining centralized control, ensuring the emperor's authority and enabling the efficient functioning of a vast and complex bureaucracy. It was the nervous system of imperial power, truly making Tang Dynasty mail faster than you would think, and in doing so, shaping the very nature of governance for centuries. You are now walking through a verdant landscape, the air fresh and carrying the scent of distant blooms. The historical context and broader impact of the Tang Dynasty postal system within the sweep of Chinese history are immense, positioning it as one of the most sophisticated communication networks of the ancient world. It wasn't just a fleeting success. It was a foundational element that contributed significantly to the longevity and prosperity of one of China's most glorious dynasties. Think of it as a vital artery that kept the heart of the empire beating strong for centuries. The Tang postal system built upon earlier models from previous dynasties, like the Han, but greatly expanded and refined them. The scale and efficiency achieved under the Tang were unprecedented, making it a benchmark for subsequent dynasties. Its administrative innovations, such as the meticulous record-keeping and multi-tiered urgency system, laid the groundwork for future bureaucratic practices in China. It was a clear evolution, a leap forward in logistical thinking that drew upon past experiences and refined them into a masterwork of organization. A quirky tidbit is that the Tang Dynasty's reliance on horses for its postal system was so extensive that it even led to imperial decrees promoting horse breeding and discouraging the slaughter of horses for meat, highlighting the animal's critical role in the empire's communication infrastructure. The postal system played a crucial role in enabling the vast territorial expansion of the Tang Dynasty. As the empire pushed its borders into Central Asia, military dispatches and administrative orders could still reach the farthest garrisons, ensuring effective command and control over newly acquired lands. This ability to project power and administer distant territories was a key factor in the Tang's success as an imperial power. Without rapid communication, such extensive control would have been impossible, leading to a much smaller and less integrated empire. Historians still argue whether the success of the postal system was a reflection of the Tang Dynasty's already strong administrative capacity, or if it was a crucial enabling factor that allowed for the development of such capacity. Was it a symptom or a cause of their greatness? Beyond military and administrative functions, the postal system indirectly fostered cultural cohesion. The constant movement of officials, scholars, and ideas along the routes helped to disseminate a common Tang culture, language, and administrative practices across the empire. This created a more unified national identity, binding together diverse regional populations under a shared imperial umbrella. It was a silent, yet powerful force for cultural integration, weaving disparate threads into a single, vibrant tapestry. Economically, while not a direct commercial service, the postal system created an environment of greater stability and predictability that indirectly benefited trade. By facilitating market intelligence and ensuring the swift movement of official documents related to commerce and taxation, it reduced uncertainty for merchants and encouraged long-distance trade. It was a foundational piece of economic infrastructure, even if its purpose was not solely commercial. The decline of the Tang Dynasty in its later years, marked by internal rebellions and external pressures, also saw a decline in the efficiency and reach of the postal system. As central authority weakened, resources became scarcer and maintenance faltered, leading to delays and disruptions. This inverse correlation between imperial stability and postal efficiency underscores the system's dependence on a strong central government. It was a barometer of imperial health, its decline reflecting the broader decay of the empire. In conclusion, the Tang Dynasty postal system was far more than just a historical curiosity. It was a sophisticated and indispensable network that profoundly shaped the course of Chinese history. Its efficiency contributed to military success, administrative centralization, cultural cohesion, and economic prosperity. It remains a testament to the ingenuity and organizational prowess of the Tang people, demonstrating how effective communication can be a fundamental pillar of power and progress, truly making Tang Dynasty mail faster than you would think and leaving an indelible mark on the annals of time. You are now navigating a long, winding river, the gentle current propelling your small boat forward. The Tang Dynasty postal system, while undoubtedly advanced for its time, was not without its limitations and vulnerabilities. Like any complex system, it faced inherent challenges that occasionally hindered its speed, reliability, and reach. Understanding these limitations provides a more nuanced and realistic picture of its capabilities, reminding us that even the most impressive ancient technologies had their Achilles' heels. One major limitation was its inherent dependence on animal power and human endurance. Horses and couriers, no matter how well trained or motivated, have biological limits. They tire, they fall ill, and they can be injured. Unlike modern machines, they require constant care, rest, and replenishment. This biological bottleneck meant that there was an ultimate ceiling to how fast messages could travel, regardless of administrative efficiency. Imagine trying to maintain peak performance from thousands of organic units across a continent. It was a perpetual struggle against fatigue and attrition. A quirky tidbit is that some extremely urgent dispatches were sometimes accompanied by multiple couriers riding in relay, effectively shortening each individual's ride to maximize overall speed. But this was resource-intensive and not sustainable for routine operations. Another significant vulnerability was its susceptibility to natural disasters. Floods, droughts, blizzards, and sandstorms could severely disrupt routes, wash away bridges, and make travel impossible for extended periods. While the system had some adaptive measures, these were often temporary fixes, and prolonged adverse weather could bring communication in affected areas to a complete standstill. This reliance on unpredictable environmental conditions was a constant threat to the system's reliability. Historians still argue whether the Tang government consistently allocated sufficient resources for post-disaster recovery and reconstruction of postal infrastructure, or if recovery efforts were often ad hoc and localized. Was resilience baked in, or was it a reactive response? The threat of banditry and rebellion also posed a continuous limitation. Couriers and postal stations were vulnerable targets, and successful attacks could disrupt the flow of messages, leading to delays and losses of critical information. During periods of internal unrest, entire regions might become unsafe for Imperial couriers, effectively severing communication lines with the capital. This external threat was a constant factor in the system's security and reliability, demanding constant vigilance and military protection. Imagine the fear of riding into an area known to be infested with bandits, knowing your life is on the line. The sheer logistical challenge of maintaining such a vast and dispersed network also presented limitations. Ensuring a consistent supply of fresh horses, fodder, and provisions to thousands of stations across an entire empire was an enormous undertaking. Supply chain disruptions, whether due to local crop failures or administrative inefficiencies, could impact the performance of individual stations and, consequently, the entire network. It was a constant balancing act, a logistical tightrope walk across a continent. Finally, the system's primary focus on official and military communication meant that it had limited accessibility for private citizens. While private couriers might have used imperial routes, the official postal system was not a public service in the modern sense. This limited its broader societal impact beyond official channels, meaning that ordinary people still relied on slower, less reliable methods for personal communication. It was a powerful tool for the state, but not for the common person. Despite these limitations, the remarkable aspect of the Tang Dynasty postal system is not that it had vulnerabilities, but that it functioned with such impressive efficiency for so long. Its resilience in the face of these challenges speaks volumes about the ingenuity, dedication, and administrative prowess of the Tang people. They understood their limitations and worked tirelessly to mitigate them, creating a system that, for its time, was truly unparalleled in its speed and reach, forever shaping the trajectory of one of history's greatest empires. You are now observing a skilled cartographer meticulously drawing lines on a large map, outlining routes and connections. The future evolution and lasting legacy of the Tang Dynasty postal system stretched far beyond its own era, influencing subsequent Chinese dynasties and even leaving echoes in the development of communication networks worldwide. It wasn't a fleeting historical footnote. It was a foundational blueprint for how to manage information across vast distances, a testament to enduring administrative principles. Think of it as the grand ancestor of modern mail services, whispering secrets from 1,000 years ago. Subsequent Chinese dynasties, such as the Song, Yuan, Ming, and Qing, all adopted and adapted elements of the Tang postal system. While each dynasty introduced its own innovations and modifications, the core principles of relay stations, dedicated couriers, and a tiered urgency system remained largely intact. The Tang model provided a proven framework for effective imperial communication, which later rulers recognized as essential for maintaining a unified and centrally governed empire. This continuity underscores the inherent effectiveness and practicality of the Tang design. A quirky tidbit is that the Yuan dynasty under Mongol rule further expanded the postal system, known as the Yam, to an even greater scale, partly due to their vast territorial conquests, building upon the Tang foundations to create an even more extensive network. The detailed administrative records of the Tang postal system also served as invaluable resources for later administrators. They provided case studies, best practices, and historical precedents for managing large-scale communication networks. This institutional memory allowed subsequent dynasties to learn from past successes and failures, ensuring that the knowledge and expertise gained over centuries were not lost. It was like having a vast corporate memory, passed down through generations of bureaucrats. Historians still argue whether the decline in the efficiency of the postal system during certain later dynasties was due to a loss of Tang administrative rigor, or if it reflected broader challenges related to political instability and economic decline. Was it a falling short of the ideal, or a symptom of larger problems? Beyond China, as we discussed, the Tang system influenced communication networks in neighboring East Asian countries like Korea and Japan. It demonstrated the power of centralized, state-run postal services for effective governance and military control, inspiring similar developments across the region. This regional diffusion of administrative best practices highlights the Tang dynasty's significant cultural and political influence. It was a tangible example of their soft power, their ability to lead by example. In a broader sense, the Tang postal system serves as an early example of a highly organized, state-controlled information infrastructure. Its emphasis on speed, reliability, and accountability resonates with the principles of modern logistical networks. While the technology has obviously changed dramatically, the underlying challenges of moving information efficiently across space and time remain constant. The Tang solutions, though ancient, offer timeless lessons in organizational design and human ingenuity. Imagine trying to explain email to a Tang courier. They might not grasp the technology, but they would certainly understand the concept of rapid information transfer. The legacy of the Tang postal system is a testament to the enduring human need for communication and the administrative genius required to fulfill that need on a grand scale. It stands as a powerful reminder that even without advanced technology, with sufficient organization, dedication, and resources, remarkable feats of communication can be achieved. It shaped not only the destiny of the Tang dynasty, but also laid the groundwork for future communication systems, both within China and beyond, proving that its influence was truly global in its implications. It was a silent, tireless force that echoed through the centuries, a testament to the timeless pursuit of connection. You are now standing at the edge of a bustling port, watching ships laden with goods arrive and depart. The economic implications and broader societal benefits derived from the Tang dynasty postal system, while often indirect, were substantial and far-reaching, contributing significantly to the prosperity and stability of the empire. It wasn't just a cost center. It was an investment that yielded considerable returns, both tangible and intangible, making the empire more cohesive and dynamic. Think of it as a crucial piece of national infrastructure that quietly lubricated the wheels of commerce and governance. One of the key economic benefits was the reduction of uncertainty in long-distance trade. By allowing merchants to receive timely market information, the postal system enabled more informed decision-making regarding supply and demand. This minimized risks, reduced waste, and allowed for more efficient allocation of resources, ultimately boosting commercial activity and profitability. Imagine a merchant being able to avoid sending goods to a saturated market thanks to a quick message. It was a vital tool for economic efficiency. A quirky tidbit is that while private citizens couldn't typically send personal letters through the Imperial post, wealthy merchants sometimes found ways to informally piggyback their messages on official dispatches, albeit at a risk, highlighting the high value placed on speedy commercial intelligence. The system's contribution to administrative efficiency also had economic ripple effects. Rapid transmission of tax collection reports and economic policies ensured that the central government could manage its finances more effectively, leading to greater stability and predictability in the economy. This, in turn, fostered a more favorable environment for investment and economic growth. A well-managed economy, supported by efficient communication, is a powerful engine of prosperity. Historians still argue whether the increased pace of communication through the postal system primarily benefited the imperial elite and large merchants, or if its positive economic effects trickled down to benefit a broader segment of the population. Was it a top-down benefit, or did it truly lift all boats? The postal system's role in maintaining internal security and suppressing rebellions also provided immense economic benefits. A stable and peaceful empire is conducive to trade and agricultural production, as merchants can travel safely and farmers can cultivate their lands without fear of disruption. The rapid response capabilities enabled by the postal system minimized periods of unrest, ensuring that economic activities could continue unimpeded. Imagine the economic devastation caused by a prolonged rebellion that could have been quickly squashed with better intelligence. It was a hidden guarantor of economic stability. Furthermore, the very existence and maintenance of the postal infrastructure created economic opportunities. The demand for horses, fodder, and provisions stimulated agricultural production and related industries. The employment of thousands of couriers, stable hands, and other staff provided livelihoods and boosted local economies along the postal routes. These were direct economic injections into various regions of the empire, supporting a vast network of ancillary services. It was a massive public works project that supported a diverse ecosystem of businesses and individuals. The cultural exchange facilitated by the postal system also had indirect economic benefits. The spread of new technologies, agricultural techniques, and craft skills, even if informally carried by travelers, could enhance productivity and create new economic opportunities. For example, the faster dissemination of knowledge about irrigation techniques could lead to increased crop yields, benefiting entire regions. It was a catalyst for innovation and diffusion of beneficial practices. In essence, the Tang Dynasty postal system was a multifaceted asset that went far beyond its primary function of transmitting messages. Its profound economic implications and societal benefits, stemming from increased efficiency, stability, and connectivity, were crucial to the overall success and enduring legacy of the empire. It was a silent, tireless force that contributed to the wealth, order, and vibrancy of one of the greatest civilizations in history, truly making Tang Dynasty mail faster and more impactful than you would think. You are now feeling a gentle breeze, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant wood smoke. The journey through the Tang Dynasty postal system, from the galloping couriers to the meticulously organized stations and the vast administrative networks, paints a picture of astonishing efficiency and foresight. It was a system that, in many ways, redefined what was possible in ancient communication, allowing an empire of unprecedented scale and complexity to function with remarkable speed and coherence. It wasn't just about sending a message. It was about knitting together a continent-spanning civilization, ensuring that the heart of the empire beat in sync with its farthest extremities. The dedication of its personnel, the ingenuity of its design, and the sheer scale of its infrastructure stand as a testament to the administrative genius of the Tang Dynasty. It reshaped governance, facilitated military control, subtly influenced commerce, and even fostered a sense of shared identity across a vast and diverse realm. The challenges were immense, from treacherous terrain to unpredictable weather and the constant threat of danger, yet the system largely prevailed, delivering vital information against all odds. It truly was faster, more organized, and more impactful than many would ever believe. The echoes of its efficiency still resonate through history, a silent testament to its profound legacy. Now, as the last rays of sunlight fade, and the world outside begins to quiet, imagine those wary couriers, their journey complete for the night, finding solace in the brief respite of a postal station. The rhythmic thud of hooves has softened, the urgent clang of bells has faded, replaced by the gentle rustle of leaves outside. The weight of imperial decrees and critical intelligence has been passed on, ensuring the silent machinery of the empire continues its tireless work. The dust of the road settles, and a sense of calm descends. You can almost feel the vast network stretching out, a silent web of communication, binding together past and present. As your own thoughts begin to drift, let the echoes of the Tang Dynasty's relentless pursuit of speed gently carry you into a peaceful night. The messages were delivered, the empire held strong, and now it is time for rest, sleep.